Because consent matters, we just want to let you know that this podcast contains topics that may be triggering to some listeners. For a specific detailing of trigger warnings, please pause the episode and see our show notes. This podcast isn't for everyone, so it's probably for you. Hi, I'm Leandra.
And I'm Anastasia. And this is a show about two best friends and our journey through cult recovery.
Join us as we gain perspective, discover our values, tell some stories, and deconstruct the fucked up belief system from whence we came.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Jesus. We are happy to disappoint. Greetings, fellow disappointments. It is me, just me, Leandra, for this little intro part here. So I'm here to tell you about our first guest, the incomparable multidisciplinary artist, the wickedly talented host of Oops, I'm in a Cult, the one and only Charity Navalesi. Like Stasia and I, Charity was born and raised into the Christian cult known as the Living Word Fellowship, or as some called it, the Walk. We started our conversation with Charity discussing her involvement in the events that led to the downfall and exposure of aforementioned organization. For more detail on that series of events, check out Oops, I'm in a Cult episode 3, A Cult Exposed, and honestly, just check out all of their episodes as well. It'll help you understand what we're talking about and maybe, again, your own experience a little bit better. And if you've already listened, good for you. So we know that a lot of people listening to us at this juncture, like as this episode airs, either grew up with us or knew us while we were still in the cult. And where two or more of us are there, then we kind of slip into this weird shared vocabulary that is utterly meaningless to anyone who didn't grow up in one of our many congregations. And so, yeah, like there is lore, ladies and gentle friends, as you know, and more on that later. But yeah, so you'll likely hear Charity and Stasia and I referencing some of these phrases or concepts from our ex-cult without clarifying their meanings in this episode. However, over the course of the rest of the season, Stasia and I will do our best to compile and share a glossary of what were called, quote, heavy air quotes here, walk talk terms. You will also hear us introduce a new segment that will be featured every so often called A Pastor Said What? This is a segment in which our guest, or Stasia or I, will share a few batshit quotes, unhinged hot takes, and or unqualified advice given to them/us by a pastor. As you can imagine, the well of content for this category is truly bottomless. So on that bottomless note, with no further ado, I invite you to join us as we cackle, weep, hyperventilate, and emotionally regulate with Charity Navalesi.
For a lot of people, it's like difficult, to revisit all this, and you kind of feel vulnerable, especially if you're like talking publicly. And a lot of us just wanted like nothing to do with the cult ever again. Like I was telling Leandra, I didn't want to see people's names. I didn't want to associate with anybody with the select few that I was like really close with. Probably like you and Leandra, Anastasia. But other than that, I was just like, I want to leave that part of my life behind me, but it wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
So I had gone through kind of hell for the 4 years after. So I should rewind. I did the thing with Shalom in 2018. We had those Marco Polos back and forth. And after the whole like crash crumbling of the church, which was glorious, happened, I was just like riding high for like a year. I'm like, fuck yeah, we did it. We took the motherfucker down. And like all of us that finally got free. And then all my trauma came crashing in on me, like basically all at once. And I was like, I am so fucked. And thus started like a 4-year journey of just extreme difficulty. Like I've never struggled so much in my life. And then I didn't really have anything to do with our past until Scott reached out to me and asked me for those videos, my side of the videos from those Marco Polos with Shalom. And I was like, sure, you can have them. And I watched them all again for the first time since they had happened. And I was like, damn, like we were pretty badass. I didn't realize, how ballsy I was in that moment, because when I was talking with her back and forth, because when it came down to actually like, okay, today's the day I'm going to post, get ready. And I didn't even have a Facebook at the time. I had deactivated it for like 4 years. Again, in an attempt to avoid all cult people. And she was like, well, could you post, from your husband's, my now ex-husband? And I was like, you know what? I'll just reactivate and like, I'll post. And all she asked was just say, I believe you. I support you. And I was like, I got to do more than that. So I just said what I had to say. I was like, I said a little bit of what my experience was, and that this is not the conduct of a church. This is the conduct of a cult. And I was literally, my whole body was shaking in fear as I was posting it. And then to watch what happened and everybody start posting, I was like, this is glorious. This is amazing. I never expected.
Dude.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, I was
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks after. How many times
Dude.
have people tried to like come forward and been shut down? And that was my fear.
People have posted on the forum.
That forum existed for years.
Like 20 years.
Yeah.
Years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like since the beginning of the internet.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Since the beginning of the internet, indeed. Bro. Yeah. Dude.
It was scary.
We couldn't have like you said, we couldn't have seen it coming, because how many times had accusations been made and successfully silenced for fucking decades?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was my fear when Shalom told me what she wanted to do. I was like, girl, I don't know. I was like, can we just like recruit people to post on the forum? That's how scared that I was for her.
Yeah.
To get persecuted. And I think it was just everyone was ripe for that moment and like had enough. And it was just like, your cup is already this full. And you just like, that was the tipping point.
The circumstances changed.
Mm-hmm. And it was also right in the middle of like when, so like it was right. Marilyn had just died. Then all of these Gary's bringing all these words about how he actually didn't want to do this.
You're like, well, and then get the fuck out, bro. Stop taking our time money.
Okay, hi, like, what are you doing here?
He's like,
then?
look,
Like,
guys,
what?
I got a new hot wife. I'm kind of tired. I'm just gonna like kick it.
I'm kind of done with it. And then the 360 shit.
The 360 reviews.
Yeah.
I found my review of Uncle Clicky the other day.
Was it scathing?
I found Uncle Clicky's review.
Uncle Clicky is what we're calling.
What's Uncle Clicky?
Well, that's what we're calling him.
No, we called him Uncle, so we have to say like something else.
I was like, is that like because he's clickbait, or he's probably like obsessed with internet porn? Like, let's be real. He
honestly.
is.
Wait, so Charity, tell us about your experience. So you were saying like 4 years ago, now 6, but like all of this happened. And you were like sharing the Marco Polos, and then like you started this podcast with Scott, like when you were at the point where you were talking to him.
Yeah.
But I want to know like what was happening after that, and how you got to like, let's do this podcast together.
Oh, okay. So so the like I said, I hadn't even thought about the Marco Polos and all that time, and in my memory, I just like my biggest memory of those polos was me being a bit reluctant and because out of protectiveness for her. And I was like, listen, I will, I was like, really like, let's fucking do something. But I was terrified about her going public with all of this, but she was really determined. So I was like, look, I will help you. I will do whatever I can. But I got to admit, I'm like scared to death. But then I had that moment of where, I don't know, something just clicked in me where I was like, fuck this. I'm tired of being afraid of these people. And that's when I said to her, maybe they should be afraid of us, because like, yeah, let's just do this. And then, so yeah, like I said, a year went by and everything was like great. And then it was like a triggering event happened. And it's something that's usually like kind of benign, or it's just something like unexpected.
Yep.
That it just opened the floodgates, and I was like a mess. And so I started going to therapy. I went through like basically a midlife crisis at the same time. I think I was 40, 41. And then I just had been dealing with my own shit for those few years until Scott reached out to me for the videos and then asked if, after he put together that little short on YouTube, which is great. I love that little short that he made. He said, "Can I do an interview with
Me
you?"
too.
I just kind of naively agreed to it. I was like, sure, whatever, like I'll do it. And I really dragged my feet though about like returning the release to him. And I was like, I don't know, like blah, blah, blah. But then I just did it and didn't think much of it until the day before he texted me and said, okay, it's going to drop tomorrow. And I was like, what the fuck did I just do?
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, it's out there now. And so nothing I can do about it. But then I started getting all these messages from former members like, this helped me so much. Like, I didn't even realize how much I still had to deal with. And so that response, like, spurred me. And I told Scott, I was like, look, I know you're doing this documentary. Like, this is helping people. And so whatever I can do to help, like, I want to be a part. And so that's when he had the idea for the podcast. And actually, Shalom originally had said to me, after that interview came out, she's like, I think you and Scott would be great podcast co-hosts. And then a couple months later, he came up with that. And that's how that Simon and Colt was born.
And what a beautiful baby it is.
Oh my God.
What a beautiful baby.
It helped us so fucking much.
So
dude,
glad.
I listened to those episodes on goddamn
Really?
Over and over.
Like, really? Oh my God. Oh, shit. I'm going to cry
too,
so
I'm already-
early.
Oh,
But like, I do, because like, it reminds me, like, it helps me not gaslight myself, Charity. Like, this happened to us.
Mhm.
This was the environment we were raised in.
yeah. It's so validating.
This is where we became humans, human beings.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fucking validating. And like the history that you guys have like really gotten into, and like, I don't know, man, it really, not only is it validating and very anti-gaslighting me and my own brain, you know? And it like, when I'm feeling like, why am I this way? I can turn on your podcast and remember.
That's not just me.
No.
Yes, totally.
Exactly.
Well, oops, I dropped my bud.
Exactly.
I was going to say to your point,
Fully.
Anastasia, is that like our whole lives we were gaslit. Anytime we thought that something was off and we would bring it up, it was just like, oh no, it's you. Like, you're the problem. You don't get it. Whatever,
Yeah,
whatever. And even like when I was
Mhm.
going through, like when I said I had like a total breakdown, and it all came to a head, and I was like, why am I so messed up? Like, I don't have enough trauma or reason to be this like fucked up. And then, and I had always thought that.
Then you do.
But, so I ended up, I did mention this on an episode of Oops, that I ended up going to rehab, like not for addiction, although I was drinking too much at the time, but I wasn't like an active addict. I just was so depressed and had serious suicidal ideation. And my therapist was like, you need inpatient treatment. And that was the best thing I could have ever done, because those people were amazing. It was like summer camp for fucked up people, but that all want to get better. And those people were like, I mean, everybody's at rock bottom when you're at rehab, right? And like, you just are desperate to get well. And everyone was so amazing and supportive. And when in like group therapy and stuff, I would tell my stories about the cult, and I'd be like, well, this is probably like nothing compared to what these people have been through. And they would be like, oh my God, that's so fucked up. And so that was so validating. And even my therapist would be like, this is like legit trauma that you went through. And I needed so desperately for someone to tell me that. It was It's not my fault.
Yeah.
It's not something that's like inherently wrong with me that I am this way.
Yeah.
This is a result of my upbringing in this traumatic, toxic environment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We are
rehab.
so not alone in that.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like,
yeah, and especially like, I mean, talk about specifically the drinking. That's like, for me, that's been such a huge thing. Not only does it run in my family, but it was given to us as a tool by the church.
Absolutely.
encouraged.
Heavily encouraged. And like, that's the only tool we got.
Mhm.
We didn't get like your deep breathing exercise.
No,
like I
definitely
think
not.
I think Mike said this maybe in Snapping Out of It. He was like, I would have loved to get deep breathing exercises instead of like fucking waiting on the Lord or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
We did not have
But like,
good coping tools at all.
No. And so the fact that you were like going out and fucking getting those on your own is amazing.
Well, I mean, I care about like our parents' generation a great deal, but I have such a passion for us young people that were born into it, because like it is much harder to get perspective when it's the only reality you've ever known. And the patterns that I see in all of us, walk babies, is that the difficulty with like self-love, and we're very like self-abusive, and struggle with just deep-seated insecurities because we were never just unconditionally loved. It was completely conditioned on how we performed and behaved in the church.
Yeah, man.
I have such deep abandonment issues because of that. And our parents, even if they were good, loving parents, they fucked us up too, because like I am sure it was the same for you guys. They were very neglectful. Like church came first, and they trusted church people with us because it's family, and so they're trustworthy. And then like,
dude, and we went to the school from preschool all the way through 12th grade. So we were right. I don't know how much of the school. Did you go to the school? Obviously not in LA,
Shiloh.
but was there anything like that in Shiloh?
Yeah, only up until 5th grade. So I feel lucky that I did get to go to public school for the majority of my education. But yeah, you guys that really had it like a serious indoctrination.
Yeah.
Like really hammered in.
Really molding us. Yeah. No, and oh man.
It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, as they say.
It is.
It takes time. I mean, that's the thing. I've been somewhat impatient with myself on my healing journey. And I would say, so yeah, it was like 2019 that I really had like a major breakdown. And it's only been in the last, I'm going to say like 8 months or so, that I really feel like things have started to solidify for me. And I feel like I'm in a good place, that I'm healthier. I still struggle. I struggle deeply with like attachment. Like a very anxious attachment style, even with friends, and in romantic relationships, it's very difficult. And it's kind of like, it's your psyche's way of like reinforcing all of the negative beliefs you have about yourself.
Literally, seriously. And like everything you're saying, it's like, okay, I could not have paid you to say exactly why we're doing this podcast. Like, I couldn't have written that more, but like, I've been trying to write it for 3 fucking years. And you just said it. And I'm like, thanks. Thank you. Like,
perfect first guess.
I'm so relieved she gets it.
I've done a lot of
I'm very relieved and very excited.
I'm so
happy, man.
Yes, I know you have, and I think you'll find doing the podcast is going to be just like another huge like step in your healing journey, because it's just like, for one, having your voice when we were silenced for so long, and then also just as like, you guys are so funny, and like that's the only way to like deal with some of this, is you got to add a little humor into it. And it's very empowering. So I'm stoked too, because I can't wait to listen. You guys are so entertaining and goddesses. So
oh my God, Charity. Stop. Oh, I love you so much. Thank you.
We're not.
Honestly.
I'm just kidding.
I was just admiring your
We are.
tattoos too. We're all tatted up now too. Like, is this in rebellion as
Dude,
well?
look at us go. Yes.
We've all got our
Have you
noses.
seen my beach
Yes.
ball? Ugh, look at my no muscles at all.
I've been lifting weights.
Dude,
How
gonna
is
start.
that? Does that help? Does that
It does.
help?
the body and the brain.
Yes, I am big, right? Like into somatic practices now because, like, I was doing all this talk therapy and
What's that?
Define somatic.
So-
what's
break
that?
somatic
in
down for
layman's
us.
terms. Maybe I should look it up so I don't sound like a douche. But like somatic practices, somatic. Okay, it's relating to the body, especially as distinct from the mind. So somatic practices incorporate your body, like physical movement, to like release the trauma from your body because we store that
Ooh.
trauma in our beings. And so it's like you can tell yourself, "Oh, I'm safe now," but your body won't believe you because your
Yeah.
organism is like wired to be in fight or flight for all those years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's your brain. You're just not going to believe you when you say, "We're cool now. It's fine. You're not under threat."
Are you sure?
Yeah. Exactly.
So somatic practices can be anything from like yoga or the breathing techniques, bilateral
Mhm.
stimulation. Like if I'm dysregulated, if I'm in a trauma response, like I can just like tap bilaterally across my chest. Or do the like you face straight on, but then you turn your eyes to look to the right for 30 seconds and then to the left for 30 seconds. And then it's supposed to reset your vagus nerve. And it actually helps.
Watching Leandra do that was hilarious.
You do that.
I couldn't do it.
Okay,
My brain is like, I have to think real hard.
But there's this podcast that I listened to from a somatic practitioner who also comes from a heavily traumatized background, childhood. And she was recently talking about how weightlifting is a great outlet for anger. And I have a great deal of anger.
Yeah.
And I
Can relate.
right?
Yeah.
It's there, baby. Like, oh, they're so sweet. No, I'm hungry, bitches. Like,
I'm fucking mad.
Yeah.
although, yeah, I think I've let a lot more
I
out
twitch.
of that out.
As we have learned from
Hell yeah.
therapy and as we can share, anger is the body's alert system.
Yes.
It's going, something is wrong.
Yes.
And like, my therapist is always like, Leandra, like, go a little deeper. What's beneath your anger? Like, why? And I'm like, I don't fucking want to look at it.
It feels terrible.
And then it feels awful.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, wait, it is still this grief.
Yeah.
It is still this heartbreak. It is still this betrayal. It is still this hurt that I am carrying from all of these instances. And like,
yeah.
I'm mad at the car in front of me right now because some dude thought I was sexy when I was 7.
Yes,
So like,
exactly.
you know, like
it's true. And you know, they say that grief
sorry. See, this is the tone. This is our tone.
I love it.
It is.
Well, grief is it's the root of anger. They say it's like unresolved grief.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of that. I mean, our childhoods were taken from us. Like, let's just be real.
Robbed.
Yeah. I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of person would I be now if like I wasn't raised that way? Because I'm 47 and I feel like I'm just now starting to like myself. Yeah.
what?
I'm 47. It's so old.
You're not.
First
no,
of all,
just
you
like,
do not look it.
Like,
I-
it's Korean
Also,
skincare.
I feel like you like. Hell yeah! I knew it. Okay.
If this is what 47
Now I'm
looks
really
like,
gonna do
I
it.
can't wait.
Oh
like,
my
I can't
gosh.
wait to
I'm
get there.
Well,
Fuck
drink
yeah.
lots of
And
water.
honestly, Charity, you
On it. Smoke
True
lots of
that.
weed.
Smoke lots of weed. Do
Yeah.
lots of therapy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and like your internal shit is like and dealing with that is making, I'm sure, taking years off of
Yeah.
you. Like that
Yeah,
healing that you're doing, I'm sure is like reflecting on the outside as well, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of grief that is being a lot
Released.
of
Yeah.
wounds that are being healed and a lot of grief that is being released.
I do
Exactly.
feel
And
that
so
way,
it's like,
Alex, holding on to
I think that
Mhm.
I think that that's a beautiful thing too. I mean,
I'm glad you could
get to do
watch
that.
Arrested Development, in all honesty. So it's like, I'm glad that, because I look at people my age, and also I don't have children, so that's part of it too, where I look around at people my age, I'm like,
Congrats.
yeah, I know, right? I'm like, hashtag blessed.
Seriously, honestly.
Blessed with infertility. Sorry, not sorry.
I was gonna say, how does it feel to travel all the time?
Yeah. Love kids.
Love kids, but I did want them desperately for years, and then it just wasn't happening. My body was like, no. I couldn't even get pregnant. I never even had a miscarriage. My body just inherently knew we do not want children.
Wow.
And deep down, after all was said and done, I was like, I actually don't want this. And I'm glad, because I don't think I would have been the mother that I would have wanted to be. I think I would have just projected my trauma onto my child. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Like our parents did
Absolutely,
to us.
because you don't have.
Yeah, totally. No, you're right.
Yeah. And because you don't have time to deal with your own shit, because you have this child to deal with. So you couldn't have had the healing that you have now and deserve.
Yeah.
Because you would be taking care of this other little being.
Exactly.
That needs you to take care of it.
And in all honesty, I just don't have it in me. Like, I don't have that much to give, if I'm honest. I don't.
Understood.
I would want to have like the ability, the capacity to give that child everything, all the love, but I just was too, so for lack of a better word, I was just too messed up to not traumatize a tiny human, I think.
Another being.
And we just like our parents where they loved us.
I respect it so hard.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, they did. They did.
Mm-hmm.
But like
we
heard
we touched on that
us.
in our first episode too, because we wanted to like say like
it's hard.
Yes,
I know.
Yes, our childhoods were fucked up, but that doesn't mean we didn't have a single happy day in our whole lives.
Right.
Like,
and
it's
it doesn't
hard
mean
to
that
talk
our parents
about.
were bad people, but it's still, well, there's that guilt, right? It's like, well, my parents, they were good people. They are good people, and they loved me, but that they traumatized me. They traumatized us. So, and that's okay to hold space for both of those things.
Both can be,
both can be true. It's like they loved us. They did the best they could, but they did fuck up. And we are allowed to be angry about that. You can forgive or not forgive. Like, I don't care. Whatever works for you. Like,
100%.
Dude. And like all of this stuff, our parents were taught a way to treat their children by a system that teaches parents to abuse children.
Totally.
I'm reading this book right now by Talia Lavin called Wild Faith: How the Christian Right is Taking Over America.
Oh, fuck, it's terrifying.
And
oops, you're in another cult.
Oops, you're in another cult.
Oops, you're in another cult. She asked a lot of people who were like ex-evangelical or like they left the faith or still are Christian but don't agree with what happened to them as kids. And like, she said, many people who wrote to me said that after a childhood of obedience training, they were unable to assert themselves at work, make decisions, raise their voices, or initiate even healthy conflict with friends or spouses.
Oh my God, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And like that, like, so
Holy
seeking
shit.
on for the rest of your life, if you got like enforced obedience or like spanked or like, again, I'll get into this in maybe another episode, but like we got taught to mask.
Yes, absolutely.
Like we got taught to not be who we were was not okay. And so we learned to train ourselves out of our natural behaviors
in order to be accepted,
whatever that was,
in order to be safe,
in order to be conditionally loved and safe.
My cat tried to jump up in my lap and undershot it, just clawed the shit out of my legs.
Clung. Dude,
it's
relatable.
Total mayhem.
Relatable.
Sorry, cat break.
Jeez, animals are so healy, aren't they?
They are. They really are.
Yeah.
They really are. I just was like, dude, we've been talking about all this stuff and like I was like, I read something recently that literally says exactly what we're saying.
I love that. But again, it's validating. I love to share stuff that can possibly help others on their like in their healing process. Because different tools work for different people. So it's nice to hear what other people are trying, and unlike John Stevens said, don't drink from too many fountains. I say drink from them all and see which one tastes right for you.
Exactly. Try it all.
Oh my God. The insular nature of the teachings of our church, but also like the Christian evangelical overall of like, dude, they have like media that's for them, and they have like books that are for them, and like music that like sounds like world music but is for them. And like in this book, the same book, Wild Faith, she's like, people, a lot of like kids who grew up in their insular world are like super bitter by the time they leave because they experienced the real world and they were like, this was kept from me. Like, what the hell? And like, this kind of takes me to where I was hoping to get with you a little is like, dude, we had that aspect of constant entertainment happening like within our, like everything, we had to be entertaining people all the time. And like, I don't know if that was something that was just demanded of us as like women, or of like as like part of like LA Uncle Clicky's crew, like whatever. Like I just like there, everything was a show.
It definitely,
and we saw you in that.
Yeah. It's funny because it really varied from location to location. Like the culture it was like culture within a broader culture. So like growing up in Shiloh, and even being a young woman in my early 20s in Shiloh, it was very conservative compared to LA. And so when I would go to LA, I'd be like, this is awesome. I feel like I can actually be myself. Which I couldn't. I found that out after I moved there, where it's like, oh, it's the same shit in like a different package. There's just different rules and requirements to be accepted here. Because in Shiloh, it was like not the same drinking party culture or anything like that. It was, but my thing that was always put on me was I'm a servant, and I kind of like be seen and not heard. You're a servant. Don't show up in a way that makes you noticed. Don't be a part of
Maryland's
the party.
Girl. We get it.
Maryland's, yes, exactly. And so I still have that thing where I feel really uncomfortable. Like, if I at any moment am like the center of attention, I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble because too many people are paying attention to me. I got to be a zero with the rim rubbed out. Like, and yet I long to be seen, right? I long to be seen and noticed for who I am, but it feels dangerous. And then my insights just go, how do I do this? It's deeply confusing. But the entertaining thing, like you were saying, I guess I didn't feel that. Like the LA was sort of initially like an escape for me from the rigorous like requirements that I felt like when the Forbes were my shepherds, for example. I had to be like just like,
and we could talk about them because they're dead, right?
Like a trad wife. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I felt like they wanted to train me to be a trad wife. You know, it's like
for sure.
It was awful. And then in LA though, it just ended up being this whole other set of, I mean, Principal G,
confusing behavior.
I was very aware that I was only treated well by her because I did everything the way she wanted me to. But I was terrified of her.
Didn't you live there?
For 3 years I lived with them.
Oh.
You want to know something funny about that? Because all the
desperately
the double standard in LA was like all like tricky dicky Uncle Clicky, like all of his shit, and all these dudes marrying like women who are 25 years younger than them. Oh, but like they probably had an affair before that, but I mean, we know Rick did, but like anyway, I digress. So they was like different rules applied to like different groups of people. And so I had a boyfriend in the church at that time, and he lived in one of the communal homes, and I lived with Dr. Drill and Principal G.
Dr. Drill. You were like 2 houses down from me. I was right
you
there.
were
we lived
neighbors.
I was a child, but I was there.
Yeah. Well, so he lived in a communal home and I lived with them, and they wouldn't even let him be in my bedroom with the door open, and my bedroom was right by the front door. You could see out into the living room. They wouldn't let him be in my bedroom with the door open, and I was like 24, I want to say. And
oh my God.
Meanwhile, like Tricky Dicky is out there like
touching Todd
on
dipping
his
wick
third
and
wife
like
or whatever.
Yeah. Like, so it's such a double standard.
God.
Yeah.
They're like, don't do as we do as we say. But yes, the masking thing is real. Like, I definitely, sometimes I still catch myself like trying to assess like, how do I need to be around this person for them to like accept me? And if I'm just myself, that's not going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard one.
That's why we're happy to disappoint, because that's literally exactly what the point is of like, we've been so scared to be ourselves. We've been so like, we loathed ourselves, like loathed entirely because we were taught to. And like now though, it's like, wait, if I can just set this down, like I don't need this person to think I'm great. I don't need this person to fucking give a shit or 2 shits about me. I can just exist. And like, again, like you're saying, being visible without the protection is terrifying and kind of like, I guess, makes you a target. I'm sure we're getting ready for haters. Like, I'm sure you're used to the haters, but like,
I think the haters are pretty much pussies, I want to say, because they don't come for like,
I wasn't ready.
I don't think they have the balls to like,
well, like, we're not saying anything that's like not true.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Well, I've had, of course, have had a few instances where, and in the beginning, it really got to me, like finding out someone was saying like mean things about me. One was just as benign as like, she's snarky, and I was like, what? And then I was like, yeah,
you are snarky. We need snark.
But I got my feelings really hurt because I was like, one, this person didn't even know me. Like, she knew me in passing in the church. She was just like, she's a Trump supporter, so what the fuck do I care anyway? But
precisely.
Like, I was like, oh, you're still brainwashed. I don't care what you think. But it was that pattern of like, if I'm not pleasing to everybody, I'm not safe.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So
because
much sense.
If we weren't pleasing, we were so abused, like emotionally, mentally, or there was always the threat of you'll be kicked out of the community. And if that happens, oh, you don't want that to happen because then you're fucked. Your whole life is fucked.
Dude, yeah.
Where was I going with that?
Sorry, I'm really good at derailing everything all the time. And in my head, I think we're on track. And then I'm like, I just fucked this up. I'm sorry.
Well, there's just so much to say. That's what's so healing about doing this is like, and all the podcasts, now there's 3, right? We're wrapping ours up soon, but there will still be, you guys are going to be the new hot thing, like it's something new. And just to be, for all of us to be able to talk to each other about this stuff, because we couldn't do that before. I remember like certain ones you knew you could be honest with and say like, hey, Alex, this is all fucked up. But like other people would dime you out and you didn't never know like who you were safe to confide in.
I got dimed out fully. Yeah. Keep going, but like
they'd pit you against each other and shit. So
it was an example of just like how perfectly they had us all isolated, even though we were with each other 24/7, and like.
And that's what's weird too, is it's like the way that they did it, it was so manipulative and so it had to have been calculated because it was so like successful what they did. I remember living in LA and just feeling so fucking lonely at times where I was like,
dude,
oh, everybody else has got it together and they're in the good graces of the leadership and I'm just a fucking piece of shit out here out by myself. I remember one time, they would do the Christmas truck for the Toluca Lake Christmas parade thingy.
We were We're gonna talk to you about this.
It's like you're reading our notes. It's like you're reading our fucking notes.
Sorry, continue.
Well, it fell on my birthday one year, and so I was like, I told them, no, I'm not going to do the prayer. It's my birthday, and I'm
not going to dance
my
for you.
Alone. Yeah, I remember going home to Dr. Drill and Principal G's house, and they had left me like a birthday card on my bed, and everyone was gone. No one was around. All my friends at that time were just in the cult, so I was like, sweet, I guess. So I ended up like going and like checking out the Christmas truck and walking around by myself feeling depressed. And like, if you weren't doing the thing that they wanted you to do, then you were excluded.
Yeah.
So you just end up like, there was another year too where I told, what's a good pseudonym for the Hawaiian tyrant, female tyrant?
Oh, we haven't thought of one yet.
We
but
haven't.
Honestly, the Hawaiian tyrant is
the Hawaiian
perfect.
tyrant feels great.
The Hawaiian tyrant.
I am on board with that
Man.
personally.
Marilyn too.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Marilyn
honestly.
Marilyn
Jr.
2.0.
Well, because that could be misconstrued as other people as well.
Yes, that's true. There's so many Marilyn 2.0s. Like,
yeah.
Dude, the Hawaiian tyrant is funny.
Well, I remember her asking me over email to like dance on the Christmas truck, and I was like, I don't want to this year. Like, I don't want to do it. I want to do something different. I just said no. I just was like, because I was compliant. I was alternately compliant and alternately rebellious, and it was just like, because that desire in me to exert my own will and have my independence would win out at times, and then my desire to be accepted and be pleasing would win out other times.
Oh,
this time I told her,
preach.
I don't want to do, I'm not going to do this time I don't want to do the Christmas truck. And she wrote me back, no is not an option, or no does not compute, something like that. And I was like, well, tough titty, because I ain't doing it.
Okay, we're here. Okay, because I've been wanting to.
My God.
This is something I've been wanting to talk to you. Brought up a person, and like the Hawaiian tyrant will say,
yeah.
and like,
yes, we will.
We will say,
this is a tough one,
and like this one's a tough one for all of us, because like you were talking about. Okay, I'm gonna start crying. You were talking about somatic movement, and like I was in her dance classes when I was way too young with a bunch of other adults. And like, I was trying to keep up with this rigorous, punishing physical regimen. Every time I like get into intense physical movement, I get full on flashbacks to being yelled at.
Right.
And like being told that no, wrong,
not doing it right.
wrong. And like, just like intense, these
militant
dance classes that like I know I experienced, and it wasn't just that, it was like this figure that I was supposed to look up to
and emulate.
And like my name even sounds like their name, her name, its name, like, and like there was always this pressure. Yeah. And like, so for me, I want to talk about like, do you remember like the fucking production that the Shiloh shows were of like 4 nights a week? Like, at least this is my kid memory of like 4 nights a week, like 50
minimum.
Yeah. 50 plus like kid adults from the ages of like 13 to 38 are all sweating it out for Jesus in a fucking parking lot in North Hollywood. And like,
let me tell you about that, because
tell me.
So I lived in LA 2 different times. The first time I was like 19 until I think I was 21. And then I was being a bad girl. I got a boyfriend outside of the church and I wasn't connecting. I had gotten fired from TLW. It was just, me being a young whatever.
Yeah, really.
But everything kind of went to shit. And so I moved back home to Iowa. I moved in with my parents and went to finish college because I had dropped out for like 2 years. And then I was sort of, as they would say, doing my own thing. This is all going to circle back to the Shiloh show.
Yeah.
I was doing my own thing, and I was having a pretty good time doing it.
Good
let me
for
tell you. And I was working like 4 jobs trying to pay off all the credit card debt that I had accrued from working for the church for next to nothing for over a year and living in LA on my own. So,
God.
which, oh, by the way, this is going to be a semi-tangent, but when I got fired from TLW, suddenly Marilyn stopped talking to me. And I remember writing her a letter. I just remembered this recently. I wrote her a letter and I was like, you said I was like your daughter. Like, what did I do wrong? Blah, blah, blah. Because it was like night and day how she was treating me like I was a part of the family and then nothing. And I remember all she ever said to me was, I got your letter. We'll talk. Guess what? We ain't never talked.
Oh, God.
She sent you the letter equivalent of K. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, all right, I'll just go fuck myself then, as per usual. But so yeah, I moved back, was working the 4 jobs, finishing school, and then the Elisha words came out. And I was like, oh. I remember
This
that
was that
moment.
time.
I was with my friend. We were at the University of Iowa field house, like running laps around the track and talking about that. And I was like, shit, I guess, like if I don't do this, like I'm really going to be on the outs because I can't just like fly under the radar, show up for Sunday service and still be okay. But anyways, it's just funny because I remember that exact moment where having that conversation about, oh shit, I'm going to have to do this because otherwise I'm not going to be accepted because now they're getting hardcore.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that's when I got involved with the Forbes regime. So I was dating somebody that was very involved in Shiloh and Maryland Farms. And he submitted our relationship without me knowing it because I wasn't connected in. Long story short, this Elisha word comes out. I asked Dottie Forbes to be my Elijah because it was this person's relationship as well. And she told me, you have to break up with him if I'm going to be your Elijah. And I was like, I talked to him about it and he was like, it's cool for now. Like you'll get a relationship with her and then we'll get back together. And that's probably the last like conversation he ever had with me. Cause after that, he just started treating me like dog shit, like wouldn't talk to me. And I'd get in trouble from her all the time. For like, allegedly like trying to get his attention and dress provocatively, air quotes.
Oh my God.
But I had gone through all of that. They were, I would say, even though I was in my 20s, I wasn't a kid anymore. I was under 26. My frontal lobe wasn't fully developed yet. And like that 2 years with her, she was so fucking abusive. Like it impacted me more than almost any experience I had in the cult because she was so vicious.
I believe that so much.
And so during that time, I was just trying to please her and like was still had feelings for this guy. And I was just like distraught. And so had asked me to be in the show that summer. So he called me. I'm living back in Iowa. And he was like, I want you to be in the show. And I was like, look, I'm working as a waitress and trying to go to school. I ain't got the money and I can't take the time off. And he was like, oh, no, we'll pay your plane ticket, like people's time money. Like, I said, yeah, but I can't take that time off of work. I just can't afford to do that. And he was so pissed at me. And I found out from his now ex-wife, he was like a cat on a ceiling. Like he was so pissed at you because you said no.
What the fuck?
Uh-huh.
He can't control you. You were in a different place, so he couldn't control you. So he flipped the fuck out and he couldn't buy you.
How dare I say no to Prince
Tricky Dicky, Uncle Clicky. It's not like he didn't have
Holy
other
shit.
fucking things and other fucking people that he was paying attention to at the time. Like, you're out in fucking Iowa and he's like, fuck charity.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Let's be real, you guys. I do not know why, because I'm not a good actress. He's the one that kept telling me, you should be an actress, you should be an actress. I am not a good actress, believe me, because I tried. When I moved out to LA, because he told me that I should, and I was like, okay, I guess. Like, oh, I'm terrible. But anyway, that's
I remember you doing that, like, and pursuing that. remember
Can
that.
I
hated
share
it.
a real
That's
core
insane.
memory
Sure.
with you right now?
insane.
That
I
isn't
didn't know
okay. So like, you remember like Tricky Dicky Uncle Clicky did all of these like tapes, these music tapes in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and
My
like
mom was on those.
his yes, she was.
Oh, yeah.
And so was his first wife, who sang exactly like you.
Oh, really?
She sounded exactly like you. To my tiny autistic brain when I was a little kid, I'd
That
hear you
explains
sing on the
everything.
stage, and then I'd hear on this tape, and I was like, is that Charity, Mom?
Oh
And
my
she's
God.
like, no, that's and I'm like, no, that's fucking Charity. You're lying to me. Like,
That's insane.
Weird. I
So-
always wondered, like, why. I mean, it was that took an interest in my voice in the beginning, like when I was 14. Your face. Yeah, I mean, that tracks. But, like, I hope everybody is
you said
watching
took an
this so they
interest,
can
and
see
my
your...
like intestines went loose. Like,
It felt very innocent at the time, and I don't know. But, like, again, I was so naive
maybe
back
it
then.
was.
Yeah. Right. And the whole thing is just a mess.
That's
It's all. It
that's
was all
another
a
mind fuck.
mess.
It's like what was innocent? It felt innocent,
Yeah,
but we
right.
had that removed from our brains. Like we
Totally.
had that instinct removed of like
Yeah, so
this is
everything
weird.
felt like innocent, and now you look back and go, actually,
So we
was it?
you know we can't tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Charity,
Well,
Jesus.
Yeah.
But that being said, so when I moved back to LA, I spent 6 months in Brazil,
Yeah. Okay.
and it was awful.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, Brazil, they love everybody. Ugh. And I speak Portuguese, and I do love Brazilians, but I will tell you, being in that church was absolute fucking hell. The leaders, the female leader, her name starts with an S, total bitch.
And her subordinates.
Uh-huh. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
I'm in a second, like, kind of hell here. It's just like,
Oh yeah.
I'm in hell in a foreign country. But so then I moved
Hell
back
to Electric Boogaloo.
hell too. That's exactly right. After that, I moved back to LA because
Sorry.
I was like, I can't go back to Shiloh.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be who I am there. They hate me, like whatever. So that's when this is all circling back to the Hawaiian Tyrant. Because then, like, my first year back there, I decide I will do the show this time. And I want to say it's because I had that, like, couple of years, maybe it was even just a year back in Iowa where I was doing my own thing. And I was just kind of, like, had some perspective. You know, anytime I would step back, it would help me gain perspective so that when I would return to the fold, I would be like, some of this is a little fucking weird. And that happened during the show where this was the first time I had participated in one of the Hawaiian Tyrants shows. And she was so abusive. And I remember pulling aside and being like, the fuck is this? Like, this is a church production. This isn't goddamn Broadway. Like, this is completely unnecessary. We're performing this in Kelowna, fucking Iowa, and she's acting like we're putting on a goddamn Broadway show. I remember it was in the TLW bathroom. I pulled her aside. And she was like, listen, I was gaslit, as we usually were. People just don't understand. I think I even told too. I think I even said something to him. But they both were like, people just don't understand, like, her ministry and, like, what she's trying to accomplish here. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm the loser here. That's
People
just
don't
like,
understand
whatever.
that we need to listen to narcissists and we need to respect them and love them and let them rule our lives. Okay.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like, I know that,
Right?
like, I'm
Fuck.
sure the Hawaiian Tyrant was created in the same mold as the rest of us, of like heavy abuse,
Yes.
heavy people taking an interest too early,
Yes.
heavy militant, like faith-based militancy energy created this person who, like, I have such mixed feelings towards,
I do
because like there were
too.
moments where I'm like, weren't you so lovely? And then I'm like,
Yes.
no.
But see, that's the thing. That's what I've struggled with so much too, because I have the same feelings about her. And her husband I adored. Like, and
Yeah.
he just changed so much from the time that I met him when they first started dating and he wasn't in the church. And
Yeah,
I
me
just
too.
watched him, right?
Yeah.
And I like love that man and I love her. But I, like you said, I have mixed feelings because she was so abusive. And I understand that it was because she was so severely abused. But here's the thing
Yeah.
is like, that's not an excuse.
No.
That is
No,
not an
hell
excuse. And so
no.
I can have compassion, but like, I'm also very angry for what she has done to people. I'm sad for what happened to her.
Yeah.
I'm even sadder that she doesn't seem to get it, or
Mm-mm.
certainly there's not
Want
been
to?
Want
any
to.
accountability taken there. Yeah, so
Yeah, not
but
even a little.
I have found that with a lot of those people where what's so heartbreaking is like you still love to some level the people that abused you.
Yeah.
That's what kept me around
Yeah.
for a lot longer
Because
than
exactly
I would
right.
have been.
That's what.
Yeah.
Because it can't just be all bad. It can't just
Yeah.
be all bad. Because if it was, then no one would fucking stay. And there was
Yep.
real fucking love there. I love the fuck out of you. I miss the fuck out of you. And like, it breaks my heart that I don't get to see you every weekend. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And like,
And that's what would
real.
make us come back.
Yeah.
For me, that was
It
what
was
kept me
each
coming
other.
back.
Yeah.
Because the
Us
reality
too.
was if you stepped away, like none of those people would talk to you. Maybe one or two, maybe.
Leandra
not really.
couldn't talk
And it would
to
be
me.
so weird.
Like, Leandra
She
was
was told not to, I'm
told
sure.
not to talk to me. Like, we were sisters. Like, my own family.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anastasia, she's on Mars right now. You don't really need to be like getting mixed up in all of that.
Transference.
Like,
You could get contaminated by her rebellious spirit. Like
let her just work it out. If she lands, she'll land, and we'll know when she's back on planet Earth.
Oh, it just breaks my heart that they talked about people that way. I don't things were said. I'm sure that shit was said about me too when I was on the outs. Like,
yeah,
I don't. But that was how they kept us, in fear of that. It was like, oh, you hear them talking about other people that way, so surely they're going to talk about me that way if I don't stay, involved and all this stuff. There was just it felt like you were damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, there's no winning.
Dude.
There's no winning.
It took me 10
you
years.
have to please them.
Yeah. It took me 10 years from the time I started having very serious doubts to when I actually left. 10 years. And I don't know that I would have ever gotten there if I hadn't married and he was in the military. So I got permission.
You got to
leave.
I don't know if I've ever told this story publicly, though, that whole thing. Marilyn said to me, because the LA Shepherds were not really on board with our relationship, but Marilyn and Gary, I think, had an agenda because he was an officer in the military. They have this deluded, thinking that, they could have some kind of connection, some kind of influence. Yeah.
Oh, they loved that about his brother, too.
Yes. But anyway, so Marilyn had said to me when I saw her while we were dating, and he was in Iraq, he was deployed, but she brought it up to me and she was like, ooh, we can use you as bait. And I was like, the fuck? So I was just like, I think about that now. And I thought she was just sort of joking at the time, but now I think she really meant it. And
100%.
Yeah. And so he had Gary's personal email address when he was deployed, because Gary was like, if you need anything, you're at war, hit me up.
Yeah.
So he just messaged them directly. Was like, I want to propose to Charity. Can we get engaged? And so he just circumvented the whole hierarchy, the whole divine order thing. And so when he came back from Iraq, they sat us down, the local shepherds, and they were really I'm going to say subtly insulting, but you'll probably think it's more overtly insulting, because they're like, look, Charity, we know all you've ever cared about is finding a husband. And look how many careers you've given up for some guy. And I was like, I I've never had a career.
No one has ever let me have a career in my life. Actually,
what is happening here? And just like, also, I mean, don't most of us want to find a partner? Isn't that part of like human nature? That's just what we do.
and sorry, isn't that what you've been actually teaching me, like pretty much verbatim?
To seek the whole time.
Like you,
women are man's helpmate.
right?
Helpmate. Like
But
you're
they
supposed to
somehow-
like that's
We're supposed to find our authority. Isn't that the whole fucking thing?
Tricky Dicky Uncle Clicky. He was very mean about like we wanted to have our reception at Rand Street, which we did end up having it there, but this not at first. At first, I was told by an insider that was in the room when they were talking about it. He said he didn't want me to have my reception at Rand. Like, why should I get to have my reception there? After he had told all of us as we were doing manual labor there, like, this is all for you guys, for your
Yeah.
generation. But he said, because I ran off to Texas with some guy. And then weirdly, like, 2 weeks
translation.
before
I never got to fuck
Yeah.
her.
exactly.
Yes.
And he's like,
That.
now it's going to be too late.
Yeah. And I'm pissed.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to throw a tantrum to mommy.
Sorry, I just like I didn't know what I was hearing when I was young. I didn't understand what it was, but now that I know what it is, all of these phrases are in context and all of these things that my stupid autistic brain can't unhear, like it just plays a soundbite and I'm like, there it is.
There it is.
And like,
Well, it's just why I mean, all that stuff. Like, I did not have a you know, when you get engaged and married, it's supposed to be like such a wonderful time. It was it was not a happy time for me. It was all like riddled with that stuff of like, well, you know, all you've given a shit about is finding a man. I'm like, here you go. I get, you know, do your thing.
How gross.
And then the wedding thing. And so then I moved to Texas and I was supposed to get my own place. Well, I moved in with him. And then, long story short, they had found out that like we had premarital relations and that I was living with him.
God
And
forbid.
I get this email from Principal G, an email that says, wants to know how long the two of you have been sleeping together. And I was like, ugh. And I was pissed though. I wrote her back and I said, that's none of your goddamn business. I said, I was 29 years old at the time, mind you. I said, we are in a...
Jesus
I was
fucking
going to
Christ.
Oh yeah, 29.
They were
29. I said,
still like,
yeah. And I was just like, what? Of all the things, like of all the people you should be worrying about, Tricky Dicky, like, what the fuck do you care? Like, I'm in a monogamous committed relationship with the man I'm engaged to. I'm 29 years old. And then, so it was like this whole big deal, which is why we ended up getting married so quickly. But they said either you've got to, you know, move back to LA or you can like move into his guest room or find your own place, like whatever. Or you can just get married right away. And so we just decided to get married right away.
Move into his guest room?
My face is frozen on confusion.
Like, my brain.
Love it.
Yeah.
All being so confusing because I was like, again, that double standard where they had certain couples that would live together and I was like, you think they fucking get real? Like,
God.
But yeah, I was gonna say about Texas, that was when I the first time
Truly,
I
what
had
the
ever
fuck?
lived away from one of the churches. And that's when the light bulb started going on and I was like, I actually feel like I hate myself a little less. I feel a little less like depressed day by day. And I was like, I wonder if this isn't because I'm under like the iron rule of like the leadership and constantly under surveillance and like being policed in my every fucking move.
Yeah.
But it was from then in 10 years from there that like,
wow.
that was that long of a process for me. That was within that first 2 years of living in Texas. I got on the cult education forum because they had announced from the pulpit, don't get on this thing.
Do
Wait,
it.
can you tell me what year that was that they announced that and that you looked? Was it the same year that you looked? You were.
It might have been. I moved there. I got married in 2007, and I started looking at it then. And I was like, yep, this all tracks.
Okay, that's crazy because I was in junior high and I remember hearing about it from from people in school, like high schoolers.
Kids
So,
in
like,
school knew about it.
so kids in school knew about it, and
Oh.
I remember because they weren't all church kids. Some of
Mhm.
them were like neighborhood kids. So like people heard about it and were talking about it, and then I heard it from the pulpit being like, "Don't listen
Nuh-uh,
to
nuh-uh.
that
Yes.
shit or whatever." And then I was like, "Okay, like I'm choosing to believe that." And so I guess this is my
Yeah.
whole life. And so even though kids in high school are telling me that I'm in a cult,
You're like,
Dude, for
I don't
real.
understand. That doesn't make sense to me.
well, they made us scared to do
Yeah.
it. Like,
Really?
I remember when I got on to read it, I was like, oh my God, like the devil's gonna take me over. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just like, I felt so naughty and like, am I gonna burst into
We
flames?
get swallowed into the earth. Yeah.
How did you feel? Like, what was that experience like from like actually reading that shit?
It was interesting because I remember everything I read, I was like, that all tracks. Like that sounds right. But I just the cognitive dissonance, it was
Yeah.
I just wasn't ready to accept it that
Yeah.
was the reality because the repercussions were more than I could handle at the time. It was like I would leave everything I ever knew. My parents were still involved, all my like majority of my friends, you know, and my ex-husband's family, like it was just a whole thing. But over time, it got to be too much. It got to be too much. All of the control, the psychological abuse. And it just got to where I was like deeply depressed, so depressed. And I remember we had moved to DC and we were supposed to go to Shiloh for summer camp. And my mom had already kind of left the church at that time. She was living in Iowa City and we were staying with her. And I remember like trying to psych myself up to go to Shiloh because I was like, I know I'm going to feel like shit about myself when I go there and be around all these people. And I was like, that's not how I should feel going to my church.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then I started doing yoga again and I would just cry and cry and cry. And I was like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That happens to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like still.
Mm-hmm. It really does. Yeah. I swear it sounds like weird. Yoga really was the first thing that got me moving in my like waking up and starting to heal. And I've talked about this on one of the Oops episodes that I had this amazing yoga teacher and we're still friends to this day. Shout out Coral Brown.
Hell yeah.
She was also a holistic mental health counselor and she was still doing she had to do like training hours. And so she offered to do like therapy sessions with me for really cheap.
Nice.
And I remember just like starting for the first time to open up about some of my experiences. I had gone to a therapist while very much in the cult because I was severely depressed. Actually, Dr. Drill and Principal G had said, you're not like normal sad. You're like dangerous sad. And then now I look back and I'm like, why do you think that is, motherfuckers? Like,
honestly.
But I remember going to the therapist and being like, I can't tell her the truth or she's going to tell me I'm in a cult. I knew that. And yet it still didn't. I was like, she'll think I'm in a cult. I'm not in a cult, but she'll think I'm in a cult.
Cognitive fucking dissonance.
Yes.
Wow.
But so I finally started opening up in a real way about some of my experiences to Coral. And she was just like, Charity, like, that's not right. Like the things that have happened to you. And like, that's not a good place. And at that time was when I really like wanted to leave. We were living in Monterey, California, and going down to LA for certain like feasts and stuff. And it was the same thing where I'd have to psych myself up
to get there,
or, you know, to get there and not. I was like, I know I'm going to feel like shit about myself as soon as I get there. But the thing was like,
I was always so
I
happy
knew
to
that I
see you.
couldn't.
I hope you know
Mhm.
that.
Well, likewise. And that's the thing is, like, again, like you said, the people that you love so much, you're like, but I don't want to lose these people.
Yeah.
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 And then you know how they would separate couples if like one of you decided to leave and the other one didn't or wasn't on board. And I was terrified of that. So I was just like, I'll stick it out. We were about to move to Hawaii. Now, ex-husband was getting stationed there. And he just wasn't sure. He was like, I think it's better now, because he'd never been like fully immersed in it like we had.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, maybe you're right. I will give it one more try. We'll go to Hawaii and I'll start going to church there and see how it goes. And obviously that didn't go well.
I'm like
Oh,
And I
clenching.
blew out.
yeah.
The funny thing is like they're really good at wooing you when they know you're not fully invested.
Yes,
And
they
they knew
are.
that, like,
They roll out the fucking red carpet.
they do.
Mhm.
And I fell for it. I was like, I sort of fell for it.
It's
Here's the
so easy to
Uh,
do because you're finally getting all that love you wanted the whole fucking time.
Because it's like
thing. Yes.
the bullfights or like whatever when they like starve an animal and then they're like, now go face this
Yes.
person.
Yeah.
And then the person defeats the animal and it's like, aha! But it's like you had to starve that animal for so long
Yeah.
to
Yes.
even stand a
Starved for
fucking
love.
chance.
Yep.
Like,
Mm-hmm. Well, and like you were talking about the Hawaiian tyrant and her spouse, it was like I did have a
Genuine
relationship with
love
them. I was in
there.
their yeah,
so
and
was
I
I.
was
I was in
really
their wedding too.
you were a flower girl,
I was
weren't
the
you?
flower
I was
girl.
like a junior bridesmaid. Well, you know why I was in their wedding was she told me that I was the first person to accept him as an outsider, and so they were like that
That's
meant a lot to them.
fucking
And then I was
sweet.
like,
See,
well, what
like,
happened?
what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what happened to that sentiment of like remembering what it's like as an outsider
Yeah.
and then to turn around and treat people like less than because they're not fully given.
I
And he
hypothesize.
said,
Oh, go ahead. Good. Sorry.
no, I want to know. I want to hear what you hypothesize.
Well, I just think that like this happened. I think that there was a huge shift that happened during these 07, 08 years
There
that you're
was.
talking about. Because like
Yeah.
that was the power shift of Uncle Clicky Tricky Dicky getting kicked out of the church again for like the 4th, 5th time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
All for show.
Yeah.
and like getting a divorce and like there was a kid involved now, like someone I love dearly, and
Mhm.
like I freaking like I remember the Hawaiian tyrant was around and there was all these like I was like doing dishes at like whatever events that like the pastors would have or whatever, and like me and my parents were always like serving. And so
Yeah.
I'd hear things and like this is why I'm like, oh god. I just like I remember stuff and like I remember there being discussions around like who was going to be the next head pastor of LA. And they were like
Yes.
promising the crown to the Hawaiian tyrant, like heavily implying that the Hawaiian tyrant would be the next head pastor. And like, yeah, like get the kids involved with this worship thing. Let's do this outpouring
Mhm.
thing. Like you're here now and we're doing this. And like all of these theatrics to keep everybody involved, which was also kind of the like,
yeah.
this all kind of ties into the points I was kind of talking about earlier of like insular community that's like it keeps to itself and it keeps you within it,
Mhm.
and then it also has like
oh yeah, pretty soon we were gonna have to start doing blood tests to make sure there was no inbreeding going on. Like, let's be real.
You're real. There were so
If-
many of certain last names, everyone was starting to get confused.
it was yeah, and like it was very together. And like I just keep thinking about how oh shit, don't lose your thought, Leandra. Shit.
Sorry.
I had it. No, it's okay. Like this is the insular
the
community.
leadership of LA.
And so yeah, leadership of LA, there was the succession battle. And like I remember
Yeah.
this one service and like I was in the booth at the time. I was doing audio and so I was on stage that day, and like it had been after like a long time of them being like, we need to like pray over who the next head pastor of LA is going to be, and like everything is in chaos, and like you know, like they barely mentioned Uncle Clicky. They were just like, we pray for him. And then like moving on, and like they got connected to like this was when the Todd Bentley stuff happened, where like we went down.
That shit was weird.
It was super
he
weird.
Turned out to be a pervert too.
Damn
Imagine
right.
that.
Surprise! Shocking.
Fucking imagine that.
A pastor who's a pervert?
Not
What?
someone we were connected to. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like all this shit's going down. And then so like this one service happens, and like the Hawaiian Tyrant was on the stage, and then the another woman was on the stage who was close to everybody there, and like I'm sitting there taking notes, and like Gary comes out on stage, and or whatever, Gary is Gary
from the green room.
Yeah, and like kind of like winks at me, and I'm like, hey buddy. And like he's like, all right, everybody. And it's like right after the worship ends, and so like the vibes are like everyone's like, what's the
vibes are immaculate. Everyone's singing.
The vibes are immaculate. Everyone is fucking
vibes are on point.
Just
100 out of 100.
We're ready to be culted. Like
yeah, shaking with anticipation.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, what's it gonna be today? Because during this 07, 08 time, there was like something every day. Like it was something every day. Like whether it's like an 8-hour service around the piano at Ray-In, or like some fucking like this meeting turned into this party.
I'm like, we just want to like.
You missed it.
It's so wild to hear that from your guys' perspective who were still living there, because I had moved to Texas and we would come back to visit, and I was like, what's
These are
happening
kooky.
here?
These are kooky.
It was the outpouring.
It was
And so
The outpouring.
this service is going on, and
AKA
like Gary comes out, and he's like,
switching wives. Sorry.
yeah, it's a wife transition, so we've got a big deal going on.
So we got a show,
and so like,
hey, look over here. Hey, look over here.
All
Look over here.
distraction. It's like, yeah, look over here.
So Gary goes, okay, guys, we got a big announcement to make tonight, and the crowd goes fucking wild. So he goes, we are going to announce the name of the new head pastor of LA. And everyone's like,
Are you
he's
serious?
like,
This actually happened?
it's recorded on tape. And then he goes, and he's like,
It's like a
shh,
concert.
shh, 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 shh. And like everyone gets quiet, and he's like, you want to know the name? And he goes, Ruach HaKodesh. Fucking crickets.
The fuck?
And like this whole time, I'm sitting on the other side of the stage watching the Hawaiian Tyrant on the other side of the stage, like getting ready to come out. Like,
It's my moment.
Yes.
when's the music gonna start playing, baby?
It has finally
Like,
Exactly.
I'm gonna dance out there, and like I'm sitting there being like, oh, she's gonna get it. Like, congrats, man. And then he's like, yeah, Ruach HaKodesh. And everyone's like, higege. And he's like, that means the Holy Spirit. The crowd goes fucking wild. And like, I watch this woman's hopes and dreams shatter in her eyes. Like, and then they're like, but actually, it's
yeah. Yeah.
but actually it's this person. And like, it was like,
oh, my little bait and switch.
so like these power games, I remember like Hawaiian Tyrant was succeeding with her, like their business and like that whole thing. And like, yeah. And then Gary and Marilyn are like, we're going to give it to someone, you know, a little more in line, a little more compliant. Like, oh, she actually married a pastor. Like,
yeah.
Like,
never mind that he was old as fuck, but like,
And
whatever.
that stole his first wife. Like,
oof.
come on.
I don't know
I'm
if
smelling cuck vibes.
It's giving cuck.
Can you smell it?
it's giving cuck. The whole
I think it's
organization was
cuck
giving cuck in a lot of ways.
I love it so much. I love to make fun of these people because it's so healing.
It is. And also my heart, like I'm hearing it and I'm like, wow, I'm usually so angry. And I'm still like, there's still a little piece of me that goes like, fuck man. Like, yeah. But also that cuck is the guy who like kind of helped me out that one time, you know? Like, so you're
Yeah, everything's so complicated.
Yeah, the feelings are complicated.
and I
complicated.
don't, I'm not saying I support anything, because like I have beef with his wife so hard. I have beef with him. I was treated inappropriately by so many people on so many levels, and like fucking like I was about to just launch
totally
into a
makes
thing,
sense.
but like
Well, but it makes sense. Again, it's like the thing we were saying about our parents. Like, both of those feelings can exist at the same time.
Yeah.
And they have to.
They
mean, you
do,
can't
yeah.
ignore one or the other. It's like, I don't want to deny that I still care about some of these people. And at the same time, I'm deeply pissed off. And think that they're assholes. But like, I still, it's like you can see
like
beyond that at times, and other times they just don't want to.
No, exactly. And like what always wins in my head is like, you don't get to spend my entire life shitting on me and my family, and then shitting on other people's families, and then like when our families are actually fucking falling apart, when like things went as wrong as they could possibly go, you take no responsibility. You just take the money and run.
Yep.
Like fucking cowards.
It's unforgivable.
Fucking cowards.
It's unforgivable. Yeah.
I like my whole you call me your family. You called me, you said you loved me. You called me your family. I fucking folded your laundry. I did your dishes. I cleaned your floor. I babysat your children. I helped you with everything I possibly could. I gave you everything, and you give me silence and shame. And like for that alone, fuck yourselves.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Exactly. It's such a betrayal.
Like,
it's such a betrayal. It's really, if they would just like take some accountability, if they would just say, you know what, I am sorry that I hurt you, or I fucked up. But no, nothing. Nothing. I have not heard a word from anybody that ever shepherded me has ever said, hey, I'm sorry. And I know some have had that from certain ones, but none of the ones we're talking about.
No.
They're still out there like slinging living word literature. Like,
literally.
the fuck? It's terrible. Everything. It's it's so hard to forgive, and when there isn't that,
there's no justice.
Apology. There's no justice.
And we were gonna talk about heartbreak, and this kind of
this is it.
This is it. Like this is exactly that. But trying to hold both of those feelings at the same time.
Man.
It's betrayal and heartbreak and still love and understanding, because a lot of these people went through what we went through and worse, and a lot of people were completely fucking unscathed. And so it's like, you know what, like
those people
that's one that I feel the most hurt by, is people who are like, that wasn't my experience, and trying to like say that because that wasn't their experience, that it wasn't any of ours. And it's like, fuck you. Like, if you came out unscathed, yay for fucking you, but don't deny my truth.
But also,
did you
come out unscathed? You know? Did you actually come out unscathed, or are you fucking lying to yourself? Sorry, no one wants to think about that, but like, I get it.
That's the podcast.
I think you're right, and I think that it was really easy for all of us to perceive other people's experiences as like different than they actually were. I mean, I've had people tell me that they thought like I was in the inner circle and I had such a great experience, like whatever. I'm like, no, actually, like you're better off if you were, as they called it, a fringe person. You still got treated like shit, but you got treated like shit in a different way when you were in the inner circle. Yeah. And I just, but that feeling is so real, of like, it really fucked with my idea of love.
Yes.
Because
talk about that.
What does that, well, they said, I love you, you're my family, right? And then they would abuse us constantly. And so it's like, oh, so this is what it's like. This is what it means to be loved.
Is constant abuse.
It's to be the constant abuse. And it's the push-pull dynamic, right? Where, what is it called? Intermittent reinforcement.
Yeah, man.
Where it's like they love on you. So it's narcissistic abuse is what it is. They like love bomb you and make you feel like, oh, we love you so much, we care about your family, and then the next minute they're like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit, you can't do anything right, I'm gonna ignore you until you get it right. And then it's like, oh my God, what do I have to do to earn this back? That has been my pattern my whole life. I do not trust people will see. This is like where it gets me. I still don't trust that the people in my life won't leave me at any second if I do something wrong.
Yeah, dude.
And it is like, it's hard. I'm still working on that.
Heard, man. And like the problem with that kind of thing is like, dude, yeah, you got someone like they lied to us to make us believe them, but we believed them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I believed them so many times, and part of me feels so foolish, and then another part of me is like, I'm not the fucking fool here.
Yeah.
I believed someone loved me. That's not foolish.
Yeah.
Like, that's real. And like, oh,
and then
sorry,
the
I'm
pattern
so
repeats,
angry.
and then the pattern repeats,
and hurt.
and then you go out and you look for that same kind of love, and that's exactly what we were talking about before, Charity. I feel that so hard. That's exactly what I did. That's exactly the pattern I fell into. And I looked for that. I looked for that love. I found it in a narcissist who treated me like shit all over again. And absolutely, I have abandonment issues because of that. Because then that pattern made me do it again and again and again, because it's a pattern, and it's cyclical.
And it's comfortable. That's the weird thing, is like, that's what my therapist explained to me, that it's like so weird how something that's so painful, but it's so familiar. She's like, it feels comfortable to you, more comfortable than like a healthy dynamic feels, because that's what you're used to. And it's your brain wants to do the same thing over and over again. Anything different, even if it's better, is still like, woo, your brain kind of goes, I don't like this. It takes time to rewire.
Exactly.
Which, thank God for neuroplasticity, because they used to think our brains were like set in stone after like age 2,
Old
and
dog
now they
can't
know
learn new
that
tricks.
Thank God I can. Jeez.
Fucking hell. There'd be no hope if we didn't. And that is what this is about too. Like, hope. Like, having these conversations, being in this space with you right now gives me hope. Like, thank you. I'm not trying to like wrap anything up. I just genuinely, like, I can't, of my big feelings right now, if I give in right now, I'll just sink all the way to the bottom of the grief. And so I'm going to choose gratitude and say thank you for like choosing to look at this with us. And like, for a second there, you were doing it for us, going through all the court documents and like all of that literature and like having all of those conversations with these people. Like, I literally, like, we mentioned this in our first episode, but like, we're alive because of like you and Shalom. Like, what you guys did, I was like, you talked to, and like, again, I said it in the first episode too, but like, the suicidal ideation thing was so real and like so heavy, and it like, people think, oh, it's not that big of a deal, or like, what, like a little tough love doesn't do anything. But like, when this is all you have from jump, like from the day you're born until you're a full-grown fucking adult, trying to understand why you don't feel lovable or like not leavable or like not punishable. Like, I always was afraid. I was afraid of like punishment. I fear punishment, and like, I fear consequences.
Yeah.
And like,
yes, punishment in the form of like rejection and like, or the
stonewalling,
being pushed away
and
stonewall.
Yeah. And like, all of this shit that we experienced, like, I am thankful that we now can talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna fucking hammer this point home a lot here on this podcast, but like, talking about it is what helps.
Yeah.
It really does.
Not
and
talking about it doesn't help anybody.
It doesn't. And there are a lot of people, when you said something about getting like negative feedback or getting shit for what we have done, it's been a little more subtle than that, in that people are be like, I don't like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you want to dredge all this up? Like, just move on, you idiot.
God. Fuck.
And I just want to be like,
that.
I would be like, if that works for you, then great, but don't shit all over the rest of
And
us if this
also,
is our
it
process.
doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for any
It
human
doesn't.
being.
It doesn't.
Psychologically, physiologically,
Ever.
like
No.
it does not work. Repression only hurts you.
You gotta feel it to heal it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh,
Even the somatic practices are like the somatic. I used to go about that stuff for like, are you okay, Leandra? I wish I could hug you.
Sorry, I just had to, like, you said feel it to heal it. I'm like, here it comes.
Feel it. Oh, that reminds me. I like, one of the things that has been helping me so much in the last year is parts work.
no.
Have you heard of parts
Oh my
work?
God, I wore makeup
It's
today.
basically like I forgot. It's kind of like inner child healing. But that can sound so like woo.
No, I'm about
but,
it.
No,
parts work. It's like these wounded, these younger parts of us that were so deeply hurt, and like they show up in these moments where like adult Charity is like, where is she? I don't know. It's like some young part of me
got their hand on the panic button.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I used to feel so resentful of that. And my therapist has encouraged me to like just notice when a younger part is taking over, is in the forefront. She's the one that's hurting.
Yeah.
She needs you. And it's so weird how it actually works. She told me this thing that like, I told a friend, my best friend here, I told her this, and it just made her cry. It's such a simple thing, because she has a very traumatic background as well. Funny how
Like calls to like
we find each other. Yeah,
exactly.
indeed.
But my therapist just told me, like, when I'm feeling some type of way that's like clearly a younger part, she said, just stop and ask that part of you, are you okay? And I just was like, oh my God, it's such a simple thing. But I tried it for the first, and it was like, it helped me so much, because she was like, what did that younger part of you want? Just wanted someone to notice that you weren't okay and to be there for you and help you. And so it's like, that's all I do. I try now when I feel one of those younger parts of me hurting, is like, I'm here. You're not alone.
Yeah.
I've got you now. What do
Yeah.
you need from me? Do we need to go on a walk? Do we need to draw? Do we need to like do something, And so I used to try to push those feelings away because they were too painful. And like going on walks or doing yoga or all that stuff or meditating, like it wouldn't make those feelings go away, because that was my goal. Just make this feeling go away. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So what she's been trying to teach me to do, and it's helping, is just to like sit with those feelings, allow them to be there, use those practices to help me like just cope and move through them. And then it's like they have that space. You're not shoving them down, or like masking them, burying them. It's just like just noticing them, like a little kid wants to be seen, like when they're hurting. And we were ignored most of the time. So
Yeah,
I find
dude.
that really helps. If you're curious about that stuff, if you just like Google parts work, it's all over now.
Googling
I didn't know
parts
about it
work.
before, but yeah.
Oh my
parts
God,
work.
yeah. That
I'm
sure I would benefit.
I even put up a picture of myself when I was a little girl on my fridge so that I could, look at her and be like, I love
that.
you.
I
Stasia
do.
does
I have
that.
that too. I have a little picture on my desk, and
I have little me and little Stasia at some event.
Oh, your friendship is so sweet.
dude,
I love that.
it's the only thing that kept each of us going for a while. If I may speak for us.
You may speak for us as a unit. Yeah.
We weren't okay for a long time.
And like the more we remember, the more it's like, oh shit, like my abusive dad traumatized my best friend too, because she was in the house when it was happening and I was getting abused.
Yeah.
And like there were times where like they'd like separate us, and like not my mom, she was working, she didn't know this was going on. Like that was the other thing, is like realizing, you mentioned this off the record when we were like taking a break, but like how much was happening to each of us that we had no idea was going on to the other in an environment where we were in the same place like 86% of the time. And like,
it really makes me sad. I think about all the times we could have been there for each other, like had we known.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's what they didn't want.
Exactly. That's why they kept us all so isolated and competitive.
Yeah. Were you guys still in the church when
She
everything
was
happened?
working at the church.
I was an employee.
She was running the front desk.
Oh, that's right.
At
As
CLW.
I did listen to your snapping out of it episode, which I loved, but I couldn't remember what the timeline was of that.
I was babbling a lot in that episode where I was just like, this might be the only time I get to give information about anything that happened
it's just
to me.
like you got it.
Here it comes.
I totally do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so illuminating. That was one of those moments where I was like, God, like you just don't know what I had no idea, Leandra, that you were going through all of that. I always thought you were like, well accepted, like did everything right, and you were on the,
What?
Totally. I was like, she's got it. Like she's got it down. Like they love her.
Wow.
Like
that's what we
so
thought
to hear your
about
experience.
you.
That's what we thought about you. That's for sure what we thought.
Isn't it sad? Isn't it heartbreaking? Like we were all suffering so much, and we were looking at each other, going like, "Man, like
I wish it
If
could be.
I could just be like her.
how to be accepted."
Yeah.
Man,
Dude.
fuck all those people.
Fuck
We should have
those
just always
motherfuckers.
been like 100% rebellious and like, double birds at all
I
times
know.
to these people.
I know. That's
So
what
God.
a lot of what this is, though.
Yes,
Yes,
that's what this
exactly.
is. Double birds now.
I
Double
like
birds
them
now.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I still didn't fully understand. I had quit working at the church. Like Shalom's letter came out, I quit like the next day. And like,
Nice.
because I literally read it and I was like, I could have written this. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I was terrified to read what could have been my words. And
God,
like,
if she knew that, like, I would break her heart. I mean, she will know that when she hears this. But like,
to me, I'm like, she's writing this because she has to know that we all went through this. Like she has to know.
That's how I felt. I was like,
well, she definitely
she didn't know.
wanted to keep it from happening anymore.
Yeah.
And she, to
she
some
did.
degree, like, did.
You did.
She fucking did. Like, yeah, what an actual legend.
Yeah. I know. I always tell her, I'm like, you showed me that I could be braver than I ever thought I could, and I will be so grateful to you forever.
Yeah.
And then, like, now knowing what all of everyone was going through, or most of us, like, especially, women.
Yeah.
I don't want to discount what the men went through, because there's the young men went through a lot too, but we were just so all of it.
Yeah.
Dude,
it's not over exaggerating in any way to say that Shalom's letter changed our lives, because
forever.
Absolutely.
We were still in it, and I didn't see a way out.
It was like turning the key in the lock. Her letter turned the key and the lock unclicked. Like we had the key, we were in the cage, but her letter made us open the door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It's the thing is too that I find like why I'm so grateful that the whole thing is just done. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I know there's still some like I call them loyalists, the people who
yeah.
Yeah. But I remember like I didn't feel like in retrospect, I didn't feel like I could really heal as long as it still existed. It felt like a constant threat. I had left the church, I think 2 years before, officially left the church 2 years before her letters. And it was like I couldn't even go there. It was like I still had to be on guard. Like my in-laws were still a part of it. Like my dad was still going around. And it was just all these people in my peripheral life. And just the fact that it existed. And there was still this feeling that was hard to shake of like,
like
a tether. And like, I'm somehow like losing out if I'm not a part of this. And yet I don't want to be a part of this.
Yep. But that's what we were taught our whole lives. If you go anywhere, you are missing out.
Yeah.
The anointing won't follow you.
And guess what? Can I say, I mean, I don't know how y'all feel, but like, yes, it's been rough, like working through this stuff, but I am so much happier now than I ever was in that. You know, it's like they always said we would be miserable and da 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 da. I'm like, life outside is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Does it have its challenges? Hell yeah, because we human.
It's life. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Am I better equipped than I ever have been to deal with the challenges that life is throwing at me? Is actually the equipment for dealing with life outside of what you taught?
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, it is.
Yeah.
And the freedom is like, oh, it's scary at first. It really is.
man.
Like no one telling you what to do. No one like it's you're accountable for you.
Yes. I had a moment with Leandra and I was like, it's a gift that I am responsible for my life, but it is also the most terrifying thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm realizing that like this is where regrets are born. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but they're
before,
our regrets. Like we get to make the choice.
I get to make the choices now. And so like that's precious. But I remember being in my apartment with her and like having that fucking epiphany. And I was 27, 28? Like I was
30.
Not full grown, but
yeah, I had that starting in my 40s, you know, and it was like, especially after getting divorced, and I was like, this is the first time in my life where I have had just me to answer to.
Yeah, wow.
Not a partner, not a shepherd, not a parent. It's just me. And it was very like terrifying and liberating all at once. I felt so lost for so long because it's like easier for someone else to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and even like, not that my ex-husband ever told me what to do, but it was still like somebody that they're involved in all the choices you make because they're your partner.
You have to
but
factor
this was
them in.
Just me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if I make the wrong decision? And then I had to just go like, well, sometimes I'm gonna make the wrong decision. And that's okay. This is just like learning.
The weight on all of our choices, like the pressure that was put on each and every one of our choices, I didn't understand that people lived without that pressure. I didn't know that pressure not being a constant factor was a possibility. And so like I remember hearing in some of your guys' Oops episodes, you talk about like, again, just the level of submission of like having to submit these choices that should not be having a pastor or anyone other than like your family and maybe your doctor fucking involved. Like these things, like, but like it was big shit and little shit. Like there was the like medical shit, and then it was like, am I allowed to go to Trader Joe's at 2 p.m.?
Yes, exactly. It was so hyper controlling. It was all that post Elisha and stuff. I remember like Dottie Forbes telling me, if you want to sneeze or fart, you have to ask me first. Yep. And like, I get decision paralysis sometimes still too with that kind of stuff because the fear that was injected into us is like
into every choice.
I was thinking about the questions you sent Anastasia about like the pastor said what?
Yes,
and like
yes. Okay, yes. Let's introduce our new segment called Pastor Said What?
The pastor said
There's
what?
so many. It's hard to narrow it down, but like
share a few if you feel like it.
Yeah, honestly, I love it.
The first one that came to mind, which I may have shared on an episode before, but it bears repeating. The leader of the health ministry, the pastor that was in charge of the health ministry,
Didn't she
lived
die?
in Shiloh. She did indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
I won't just. She told me that I should stick a raw garlic clove up my vaginal canal. Just wrap it in some cheesecloth and shove it right up there. And I was like, I'm gonna pass. I don't feel like that's healthy. But she also told me that because I had bad acne, and she told me I should put raw garlic on my skin. I still have scars. Like it literally burned through layers of my skin. Thanks a lot, Health Commission.
Wasn't she like a nurse? And then like for like a minute?
A nurse
and
like 100 years before, like in the 70s, and then suddenly she's like credentialed to give you health advice. And I had
was it
a
only
former
the
member
70s?
I think she was a nurse. Maybe it was in the 60s. You could be right, because it was
I don't know. I just perceived her as ancient forever, so I didn't.
Well, I think you might be right, because I don't think she was a nurse when she was a Blix girl. So
I forgot. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Wild.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Charity!
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
I'm glad I didn't listen to her. I did mention this on an episode, because I had a former member who was a nurse, and she's my age, messaged me because she was infuriated hearing that. She's like, do you know, like, you could have gotten sepsis? Like, she's had patients come into the ER with stuff like that before, because they're doing this homeopathic crazy shit with garlic. And like, she's like, you could have died.
Oh my fucking God.
I wonder how many people actually, on her recommendation, put cheesecloth garlic up their snatches.
Honestly, I honestly wonder.
How many people, how many people did she hurt with that?
Right? It's just so reckless.
Oh.
So Marilyn, you just reminded me of some weird shit she said, where it was I think Passover, actually.
Oh.
Yes, it was. It was Passover. And it was
Passover
right
memories.
After... Happy Passover, everybody. Here's some cult stories for you.
This is the best. Oh my God.
So remember how I told you
we're going to do this trauma anniversary? We're going to talk about it.
So it was right after we got in trouble for like living in sin, essentially. And we were out in LA. We were out in LA for Passover, and we went to they had the dinner at that hotel? Like, I don't remember which one.
Airtel?
No, wait.
Airtel Hotel, something. It was like
the Airtel.
Airtel.
It was the Airtel.
It was the Airtel.
Yeah, it was the Airtel. So I remember like we were there, and it was in the aftermath of us getting in trouble for falling into sin. I was a fallen woman.
Every time you say it, it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
So Marilyn pulls me aside, and she's a little tipsy. Like, I can tell she's a little tipsy, and she's like, we probably should talk when neither of us have had anything to drink. And I was like, I'm sober. And she was like, yeah, me too. I was like, okay. And then it came up that she knew.
Sure, Jan.
Sure, Jan. It came up that she knew about all of this. Like, and I was like, I think she brought it up, the premarital sex stuff. And she's like, listen, I don't care about any of that. She's like, if you send a mouse into an elephant, it's gonna get fucked. And I was like, huh? I was like, which one of us is the mouse in this scenario? Like,
what?
I know.
What is that?
I don't know. To this day, you guys, I do not know.
I had to,
Marilyn, if you could let us know from the grave, like, what the fuck were you talking about?
You psycho bitch. Please let me know what the fuck you were talking about.
It was some
it's
parable.
all psychobabble.
So, like, that's such a weird, like...
Holy shit.
That's such a weird, okay, hang on, like...
Dude, she did some heavy meddling in our love lives as well.
In our
heavy meddling, indeed.
Some serious meddling in our psyches. That's for
that
sure.
Too.
Like,
Jesus.
Fuck. Do you still find that you think twice about what you wear too, because of how they policed our wardrobe?
Yeah.
And the whole don't be a stumbling block to 100%. Your brother.
Oh yeah.
I got in trouble. I got I don't remember what the punishment was, but I just had, I was like, because my body is shaped this way, the amount of clothes I am allowed to wear is majorly limited, and a spaghetti strap, no thank you.
Oh yeah, I got in trouble for shit all the time.
No. Spaghetti straps were the devil of our time.
Yeah.
A woman in a spaghetti strap, it was like...
Wear an A on your chest.
You absolute slut. Yeah, where's your scarlet letter?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
And your tank top.
And like there was always the threat of sexual violence. Like you wear a tank top, there's no telling what a man's gonna do to you.
And it'll be your fault.
Yeah, it's
your fault. So like yes, I do think about what I wear every day. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I think about it, and then I try to do the opposite. I'm like, oh, cleavage, tank top, tight skirt. Like, who cares? Like, I remember being in a yoga teacher training, and like, being very hyper aware of like my nipples show through everything, and I was wearing like a very uncomfortable like double bra situation. I have very small boobs, but like aggressive nipples. So I remember this like
we love an aggressive
and
nip.
I was so self-conscious about it because it was like, don't draw attention to yourself. So but this classmate of mine was like, why are you wearing a double padded bra? I was like, because of my nipples. She's like, so show your nipples. And I was like, oh my
God,
dude, the light bulb moments like that of like, I can do that. Like that's,
and nobody will throw shade. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And I won't be fucking literally ostracized. Like,
yeah.
That's,
you won't be called a whore.
A whore?
I got told don't dress like a lesbian.
Oh my.
Yeah, you did.
Look at me now.
That's a very like narrow. You can't dress too seductive, and you can't dress like a lesbian. You gotta find that happy medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you have to still be attractive to Uncle Clicky, but
don't be too butch.
Yeah, you don't want to look like his sister. Like,
yeah, that was some like projected onto you hatred for her own daughter.
And,
Marilyn shitting on her own kid by shitting on me. Like, fuck yourself, lady, and Marilyn lady. Like, dead lady, fucking dead bitch.
And it's clear, like, all of this, how we internalized all of that. Like, whether it was...
I believed everything they told me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I would like live and die by the words that she would say to me. If I was in her good graces, I felt great. If I wasn't, I felt like I deserved to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last quick story. I outright asked Gary Hargrave, is there a spiritual... I was still in the cult, but I was like, is there a spiritual difference between alcohol and marijuana? And he's like, no. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well... John, like, said some stuff, and, like, we just didn't want people, like, well, you know, like, he goes, Mom actually tried marijuana, went for her cancer treatment, and, like, she hated it. Like, she hated how it made her feel. It was in, like, a tea form, and, like, she didn't like it. But, like, and I'm like, but is there a difference between, like, there's all this literature about, like, drugs versus alcohol, and yet we all drink alcohol with impunity. Like, I don't understand. Please make this clear. And he's like, no, it all just like relaxes and like loosens your spirit and like opens you up, and like sometimes that's a good thing, and like too much is bad. I'm like, wow.
It's such like word salad as per usual.
Yeah. I literally said thank you for being honest with me. And like maybe he was. I don't know. Like,
but I heard that there was some leadership like that, that was smoking weed. So again, that double standard.
I never perceived leadership smoking weed because I didn't know what to smell or look for, or like what that was. So I didn't know, like, I can't recall any.
I remember they would tell us like
those incidents,
that John said if you smoked marijuana, your spirit would leave your body for 4 days or something like that. So I was like afraid.
Yeah, some fucking cuckoo bananas. Yeah.
And
now
I walked around Rayan thinking that I couldn't get back into my body when I got high one time. I was like, this is it. I've done the bad thing. I did it.
My spirit is
not going to be able to re-enter my corporeal form. Will never return or be mine again.
Oh my God.
No kingdom of heaven for you.
Anyway, that's okay with me,
right?
At this point, at this juncture.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed.
Thank you, Charity.
Oh my God,
we love you.
I love you guys so much, and I wish I could hug you. And thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Oh my
was
God,
very
this was
special
amazing.
and fun.
Thank you so much.
You guys are the
Thank
best.
Happy
you,
to
and-
disappoint everybody together.
Yay!
Thank you for listening today, and thank you for supporting Happy to Disappoint. Check out our Instagram and Blue Sky @DisappointCast and our website, happytodisappoint.com.
Thank you, and we treasure your attention.